The heart of country music, especially tonight. Thank you all very much.
Outraged that the award was given to an Australian pop singer, many CMA members quit in protest.
Apparently there was like a split in the CMA, and some people formed a new kind of section of it because they didn't like the idea that this little upstart of an Aussie could come in and take their award.
Unfazed by the uproar, Olivia plunged headfirst into country music. By performing at rodeos and county fairs and recording her first American album in Nashville, she was eventually accepted by country purists.
I think they realized that maybe it was in their favor because I was opening up country to people that had never listened to it before, because people who were listening to pop weren't necessarily listening to country, and mine was kind of pop country, which is pretty much where a lot of country is now. So it was probably in the long run quite a good thing. Have you never been that long? Have you ever tried?
When Olivia's next single, Have You Never Been Mellow, topped both the pop and country charts in 1975, the debate was over. Olivia refused to be categorized, and her music was universal.
We don't fit neatly into those little boxes. When you are like Olivia or myself and you sing a lot of different styles of music, it's impossible to categorize you, really.
At the 1975 Grammy Awards, I Honestly Love You was chosen as 1974's Record of the Year, and Olivia was honored as the Best Female Pop Performer. With opportunity beckoning in the States, Olivia left England and relocated to Los Angeles.
My love life wasn't going too well. My career wasn't going too well in England. I had a hit in America, and it was like, it wasn't too easy to make the decision to move. And the first place I visited was New York. That was pretty shocking. And I went to a department store, and some lady says, "What do you want?" And I remember like, oh, I was like weeping, leaving the shop because I couldn't believe it. I thought she was upset with me that I'd done something wrong, but it was just, you know, that was New York. I just wasn't used to it.
By the end of 1976, all of America knew Olivia's name. But the following year, her career would take a major turn that would transform her into an international superstar.
I frequently had dinner parties for 8. She was invited to one of them, to which I'd also invited Alan Carr, who was casting for Grease.
I had never met her in person. I'd never seen her perform. Well, by the time dessert came, I offered the part. I mean, she was so delightful at dinner. She was everything that the part was. She was funny, and she was smart, and she was coquettish. She just fit the role.
I was worried if I could pull it off, because after making that movie Tomorrow, I was really scared about making a mistake because my musical career was going really well, and I didn't want to botch it up by making a movie that I wasn't good in. So I actually said, you know, I'd be interested in doing this movie, but I want to do a screen test. I want to do the screen test, and I really want to see if I think I can do it.
The screen test convinced Olivia that she could make the film, and in the summer of 1977, she began filming.
Guess mine is not the first heartbroken. My eyes are not the first to cry.
Olivia was the big, huge pop star. And I had seen her in her specials. And in fact, we were all kind of, you know, in awe. She was the big star on the set.
Olivia immediately formed a close bond with her co-star, John Travolta.
John and I were very close, and there was an obvious attraction between us during the filming of the movie, but we were both seeing other people, and I think that's probably what kept the chemistry alive on screen, because there was definitely something there.
Well, the chemistry for us on the film was very alive. You know, we were very, you could feel that we really cared for each other and that we were very attracted to each other.
They'd be holding hands and they'd be giggling and laughing, and you know, there were a lot of gossip columnists around and speculating what was going on, because they really did have crushes on each other.
There was kind of this flirtatious thing going on, but it never really became anything. But I'm extremely fond of him. I think he's a wonderful, wonderful person.
Released in June of 1978, Grease was an immediate phenomenon, and critics lauded Olivia's Hollywood debut.
She was like born to play that part. She was so natural. Some of the critics at the beginning didn't think that she was acting.
The film's defining moment was Olivia's remarkable transformation from virgin to vamp during the film's finale.
You couldn't imagine her making this transition. And then when she did, especially on the day that she did it, and she was all decked out in this black, we had the same reaction that we had on film.
Sandy? Tell me about it, Stud.
At film premieres all over the world, Olivia and John were mobbed by thousands of screaming fans.
Boy, when Grease opened, it was a phenomenon. I mean, it was unbelievable. We pulled up in a convertible, John and I, and it was a mob scene. It was very exciting, very thrilling, and we went to London, and it was like a stampede. They were climbing all over the car. It was actually quite scary, the London premiere.
We were almost crushed. The limousine, the ceilings were caving in, and the cars were being rocked back and forth, and we didn't think we were going to make it to the theater, and it was like a mob scene that was not to be believed. It was almost like England's answer to what the Beatles were to us at that moment.
Grease would go on to become the highest-grossing film musical of all time. 20 years after its release, the film remains a touchstone of 1970s culture and the most important turning point in Olivia's career.
There was just incredible excitement about the film, and it was a huge success, both box office and the album. Probably the biggest thing that ever happened in my career as far as everything at once. I mean, it was movie and film and every medium. I had no idea it would be like that. I thought it was a fun movie and it was really good and it would do well, but I had no idea that it would be, you know, 20 years later we've just celebrated the 20th anniversary and it's like happened all over again.
Coming up, as her career takes off into the stratosphere, Olivia settles down to raise a family. Next, when Intimate Portrait continues. I'm Diane Cannon. We now return to Olivia Newton-John, An Intimate Portrait. Grease made Olivia an international celebrity, and like her character in the film, she decided to reinvent her image. On her 1978 album, Totally Hot, Olivia abandoned her pure and innocent pop sound in favor of tougher, more rock-oriented material.
I think in my career what helped me make a change in music was Grease, because as Sandy 1, I had Hope See Devoted to You. As Sandy 2, I got to sing You're the One That I Want, and I think that transition into that more kind of rock pop style gave me an opportunity to really go more in that direction. It became a little more edgy after that.
With a successful film to her credit, Olivia began looking for a follow-up project to Grease. In the musical fantasy Xanadu, Olivia was cast as a heavenly muse sent down to Earth to aid a struggling artist.
Two great things came out of Xanadu. I met my future husband on the set and I got to work with Gene Kelly. I mean, how many people in their lifetime get to dance with John Travolta and Gene Kelly? I mean, I'm a very lucky person.
During rehearsals for Xanadu, Olivia became enamored by a 20-year-old actor and dancer named Matt Lattanzi.
I met Matt on the set of Xanadu. He was the stand-in for the leading man. We didn't have a leading man yet. So Matt was my dance partner.
By the time Xanadu opened in 1980, Olivia and Matt had become a couple. But unfortunately, the film failed to duplicate the success of Grease and was dismissed by critics and ignored by the public.
There were some beautiful songs in Xanadu, but the picture being kind of a fantasy and reality, and it just didn't click with the audiences.
Though the film Xanadu flopped, its unusually eclectic soundtrack became a huge success. Combining elements of rock, pop, disco, and swing, the album went platinum and gave Olivia her fourth #1 hit, Magic.
You have to believe we are magic. Nothing can stand in our way. You have to believe we are magic. Don't let your aim ever stray.
After Xanadu, it seemed to many that Olivia would never be able to top the success of Grease. But her next project would become her greatest musical achievement and shattered her sweet girl-next-door image once and for all. With With its hard rock beat and suggestive lyrics, Physical became Olivia's 5th #1 hit, selling over 1 million copies worldwide and topping the U.S. charts for an incredible 2.5 months. The accompanying music video helped launch America's fitness craze and became the unofficial anthem of the 1980s.
Knew it was a hit song, but like 2 weeks before it was due to come out, I was panicked. It was like I suddenly realized that this was bold. This was even bolder than Grease. You know, this was like the lyrics. My goodness, how was I going to get away with this thing? And I said, we need to soften it somehow. We need to do a video that's about exercise and it's kind of funny, and made a video that kind of went against what the lyrics were saying. But kind of went with them, but went against it too. So I think that kind of made it easier to take. But I was banned. I'm very proud of it. Banned in Utah for a while.
Physical, I wanna get physical. Let's get into physical.
Sporting a new haircut and athletic wardrobe, Olivia energetically performed sold-out concerts across America.
Her show had an edge now. It had this whole other, almost moved into the Madonna-esque dimension where she got to be sexual.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. She blew us all away because there she's singing and she's dancing. She's doing aerobics. And it was just beyond anybody's expectation.
She's a dynamic performer. You know, she was always captivating and entertaining, and you know, it was a good show.
At the age of 33, Olivia had become one of the most popular performers in the world.
Olivia is the only female artist up to today that could have come out of Australia and been successful internationally. She was by far the best female singer then. And to me, she's by far at least one of the top 5 finest singers in the world.
I think probably the most distinguishing thing about Olivia as a singer is her versatility. She can sing so many different styles of material, and she always sounds like she's enjoying it.
I remember once driving from the airport in Vegas to Vegas in the days when she was like hugely big, and she was starring at the Riviera and her name was up in these enormous lights, and she looked up and she said, "Who is that person?" I mean, she never really, and I still don't think she believes the magnitude of her stardom.
While on the Physical tour, Olivia came up with an idea that would once again team her up with her friend Pat Farah.
When I was touring around America, I was really craving these Australian candies called Violet Crumble and Cherry Ripe, and I wanted a meat pie and a milkshake, and that's something you can only get in Australia, and I was having this craving, and I came back and I said to Pat, you know what, I think it'd be great if we opened a little milk bar, which is like a 7-Eleven, where we could get all those Australian things.
She said, why don't you and I open a store, an Australian store or something, and sell all the imports? Because the Aussies in town, there's nowhere to get Vegemite and Violet Crumbles, and I thought to myself, that's not bad. And I went home that night and I stayed up all night.
And she called me the next day and she said, I've come up with an idea. We're going to open an all-Australian shop. We'll have a milk bar on one side, but we'll have all Australian clothing and everything else on the other side.
We asked everyone what they thought of when they thought of Australia, and the majority of people said koalas. And I was driving in a taxi with her in Sydney one day and I went, blue. She said, blue what? And I said, koala blue. That's it. It's got to be koala blue. And she said, yeah.
In October of 1983, Koala Blue opened on Melrose Avenue in Los Angeles to great fanfare. With its original line of clothing and unique Australian merchandise, the store was an immediate success for Olivia and Pat. By the end of the year, Olivia began to focus on another partnership. Having been with Matt for over 4 years, she finally decided to settle down.
She was very scared of the idea of marriage because she'd seen, particularly mine, just disintegrate around the place, you know. She'd seen me go through 2 of them and our parents' divorce and just about everybody she knew. And she didn't want to go there, and she didn't want to go through what she'd seen everybody go through. So I guess she was just, you know, being careful.
In December of 1984, Olivia and Matt finally tied the knot. Just 3 months later, Olivia became pregnant. On January 17th, 1986, she gave birth to their daughter, Chloe Rose.
When Chloe was born, I decided that, you know, I really wanted to be around and be a mum and be there for her. So I took quite a lot of time off. They were precious years, really fantastic, just to be able to spend them with her and be there, and it was wonderful. She's a wonderful, bright, funny, intelligent, sensitive little girl, and she's a joy, the best thing that ever happened in my life.
Though she put her career on hold, Olivia was still living an active life. By 1989, the koala